morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on what part of the globe you're hearing my voice from. Of course, I'm super glad to come your way. Once again, it's been a while. We have been very much, calm, cool, and collected in our approach to monitor what is happening in Nigeria. We have deliberately soft-pedaled, waiting, of course, to see what the Nigerian people, the Nigerian government, and the Nigerian cabal are going to do about our maximum leader, Nnamdi Kanu. But of course, we all know the matters that have dominated the air, especially, of course, this, new declaration from the 45th and 47th President of the United States, who has declared Nigeria as a country of particular interest. And of course, you all know this is happening, especially because, the killings, slaughterings, and, repeated manhandling, kidnapping, and all sort of injustice being done to Christians have come to the full glare of the superpower America. And of course, because of this constant slaughtering, bloodbath that involves Christians on a daily basis, day-to-day basis, the 47th, 45th President of the United States came up and said, this country is very disgraceful. This is a disgraceful country. This country is now a country of particular, interest. We have seen what is happening. We have seen the cluelessness of the government. We have seen that the government cannot guarantee life and property of its people. We have seen equally that on a daily basis, Christians have been massacred. It's as if that's a genocide against Christians. And so the 47th President of America, who was equally the 45th President, declared Nigeria a state of, particular concern and particular interest where the lives and properties of Christians cannot be guaranteed. And he saw that the Nigerian government were playing lip service and, of course, had no intention whatsoever of, stopping this carnage, this bloodbath, this genocide, seeming genocide against the Christians. Ladies and gentlemen, you're all aware that ever since then it has been a denial game. Of course, the government has continued to say, no, it's not true. The government has continued to insist that any attack from bandits, the Boko Haram and the ISWAP, the ISWAP group, any attack from the Fulani, jihadists was actually not aimed at Christians. Of course, that the banditry and the terrorists actually face every community, including Muslims, including Christians. And so they have been appealing to the United States government to please subpedal and, remove Nigeria's name from a country of, particular concern. So, ladies and gentlemen, of course, the whole world has come out. Pastors have come out. Well-meaning people have come out. Our veterans in the United States Army and Air Force, in the diaspora, have come out to say, no. Actually, there has been a continuous, attack, a genocide, if you like, on Christians. And they have said that most of the attack, more than 75% of the attacks, have been on Christians. And they welcomed the intervention, the threat to intervene militarily by the American people. So, ladies and gentlemen, these are the environments we find ourselves. We have continued to see what has been happening there. We have continued to see the topsy-turvy nature of things. We have seen that the government is not sleeping well. The man who calls himself the Jagapan is not sleeping with both eyes, because, of course, he knows the eyes of the world is on him. He knows the eyes of the police, number one police country in the world, the United States of America, is beamed in Nigeria. The drone is circulating. The drone is circulating 360 degrees, and everybody is sweating, even on the air-conditioned offices and air-conditioned rooms. Of course, I'm sure the Jagaban, the man who say Melokon, I know he is regretting. He would have been wishing, why my time? Why did my tenure? Why did it not happen during the late PMB's tenure? Why did it happen? Why does it have to be me? Why is America on my case? Why am I being bullied like this? Why am I being subjected to this torture, psychological, emotional, physical, mental, political torture? Why am I, being treated like this? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that's what happens when you assume power without knowing what you want to do with it. That's what happens when you come for an election. Even before the results of the election, you proclaim yourself a winner. That's what happens when you assume power. You say it is my turn. That's what happens when you come into government and you say subsidy is removed. That's what happens when you inflict hardship and difficulty on your people. That's what happens when you take up the reins of power. Take up the reins of power without deciding, without first formatting. You understand? Putting out your goals, putting out your immediate goals, putting out your mission, putting out your hopes and aspirations. That's what's happened when you are a clueless leader. So, ladies and gentlemen, Nigeria has been in a topsy-turvy condition. It has not been going well. The legislators are blaming themselves. The different regions are blaming themselves. Today, a conservative forum will come out and say it is Christians who made Donald Trump come. Another one will come out. They will say it is the Biafrans. Yes, your agitations that made Donald Trump come. You agitate and you make this man come. Biafrans are beneficiaries of the American attack. They'll come again and say it is the Igbos. It is the Igbos who have been championing the call for America to come. In fact, I heard somebody say, yes, the Biafra superstar media was always talking about Donald Trump, was always saying Donald Trump was watching anything concerning Nigeria, was always saying Donald Trump was interested in Simon Epper's case, even in Finland, was always saying that Donald Trump was interested in Nnamdi Kanu's trial and mistrials. Ladies and gentlemen, it got to that point. And so everybody have not slept. It's a current topic anywhere. In the mass media, in the social media, in the print media, in the televisions. Ladies and gentlemen, Nigeria is not cool at the moment. And every other day, the same 45th, 47th president of the United States have continued to talk. He has been bellowing, talking like a giant, telling the Nigerian people, you better get ready. If I don't see changes, you better get ready. If I still see killings in the church, you better get ready. If I still see you manhandling Christians, you better get ready. If I still see you having two justice systems, one for the Fulani jihadists, one for the terrorists, and another for the Christian. If I still hear that the Christian who defends himself when he's attacked, when his community is attacked, when his farm is burnt or destroyed, if I hear that such a Christian is taken to a Sharia court and immediately proclaimed guilty to die by hanging because he dared to defend himself, the most, excuse me, the Fulani jihadist. If I hear this, then Nigeria is going to be sorry because we'll bombard you, we'll come through the air, we'll come before you say hello, before you say Jack Robinson. America is in your soil and we'll fish these people out. We'll get the sponsors, we'll get the terrorists, and we'll get this bald head government officials who siphon money, who are corrupt, who are inept, who are clueless, and who are aiding and abetting Christian genocide. Ladies and gentlemen, you know how Donald Trump says it all. You know why he does these things. Because, of course, we all know that Donald Trump is, of course, like a bull in a China shop. The China shop is full with fragile contents. You got to handle with care. But every time Donald Trump comes into a China shop, I mean, with all the beautiful vases, flower vases, with all the chandeliers, with all the lightings, with all the beautiful things that, of course, China can manufacture. What does he do? The bull in the China shop destroys everything. He doesn't mind. He doesn't care whether their value is beyond him. He doesn't care how beautiful they look. What he knows is that as soon as he's in that shop, his movements is galloping, and of course, his exciting and aggressive move will, of course, destroy a whole lot of things in the China shop. Ladies and gentlemen, that's how it is. That's what it is. This man, Donald Trump, a bull in a China shop, the man, #1 policeman of the world, America, #1 police country of the world, has described Nigeria as a country of particular concern because, of course, he has seen the desperateness, the wickedness that is being fomented against Christians, against Biafrans, against people of goodwill, against innocent protesters, including Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Ladies and gentlemen, that has been the mood in the country. That has been what has been happening. And this is why it seems as if we took it slow. We've been taking it one at a time. Because, of course, we are looking forward. We are waiting to give you a blow-by-blow account of what is happening before the Americans strike. Yes, of course, because America will strike. Who doesn't know that America will strike? When they talked about Iran, when Iran was beating its chest, talking about nuclear warheads, when Iran was threatening Israel that they're going to use nuclear, they are going to Gaza, they are hitting Israel from any corner. But of course, America won them. And the next thing they knew, they didn't even know what America had entered and destroyed all their nuclear warheads right at the mountainous zones where they hid them, even where they hid them in the mountain tops. Before they could say, who, what up? America had finished. And of course, everybody was sorry. Equally, America got all their scientists, got all the people who were involved in the nuclear facilities. And of course, they were wiped out within the twinkle of an eye. That is Iran, a country that has nuclear facilities. That is Iran, that one of the top-notch fundamentalist country in the world. That is Iran, a jihadist country that are always in war. Then imagine Nigeria, a country that is full of sleaze politicians who are so corrupt. They are stealing monies for 20 generations, 200 generations to come. Nigerian politicians are so corrupt that they are, in fact, one of the former prime ministers of Britain described them as fantastically corrupt. Yes, Mr. Cameron described them as fantastically corrupt. In fact, during his 45th tenure as America's president, this current Mr. Donald Trump, the 47th president of the United States, described Nigeria as a shit country, shithole. That's what they called it, a shithole, fucking shithole. And of course, our veteran, our prolific writer, late Professor Chinua Achebe, looked at Nigeria. He remembered his dreams. He remembered his hopes and aspirations. He remembered his youthfulness. I mean, he remembered where he wrote about things fall apart. He wrote about no longer at ease. He wrote about the arrow of God. And he looked at Nigeria. Yeah, he looked at Nigeria and he shook his head and they ended. He said there was a country. Because, of course, the country he knew as Nigeria had evaporated. What he had now was a rat race, was a zoo, a zoo. A zoo. What he had was a contraption that was nothing fit to describe a country. He said there was a country. He shook his head in pains and agony. He looked at what used to be Nigeria, a land of his birth, a land flowing with milk and honey, a land that had nationalists, great nationalists, like the great Nnamdi Kanu. He had personalities like Sir Louis Ojukwu, like Dr. Mike Opara. He looked at Nigeria and he shook his head because Nigeria had fizzled out. Everything about the country had fizzled out. And of course, what we had now was a scarecrow. What we had was a skeleton. What we had was, unfortunately, a smoke screen. There was a country. He was disappointed because Nigeria had become a failed country, a mirage of itself. Nigeria had become a shame to behold, a shithole, if you like, a zoo, as our Nnamdi Kanu will call it. So that's how it is. Nigeria, for today, has been designated a country of particular concern because of the genocide against Christians, because of the wicked and unanticipated slaughtering of Biafrans, of Christians, of people who are not jihadists like the Fulani jihadists, the terrorists who have been sponsored by the people, elements in the government, have created so much problem, for innocent Christian Nigerians. Today is a blame game all over the place. If they are not blaming the vice president for being the one who introduced this banditry and terrorists, this Boko Haram, they are blaming El Rufai of Kaduna State. If they are not blaming El Rufai, this one will call this one's name, this one will call this one's name. It has been a blame game, name calling, because the 45th and 47th president of America has his big eyes focused on Nigeria. And the threat is imminent. He has said it. If we don't see changes, I bet you, if we don't see changes, Nigeria, you'll be sorry. We'll not only come in militarily, we'll make Nigeria ungovernable. If we don't see changes, if we don't see a manifest change, a deliberate action, proactive, if we don't see changes, then we are going to strike. And when we strike, Nigeria will never remain the same again. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's the mood in the country. That's where we find ourselves. But of course, this morning, I'm not here to remind us of what has been the sorry story and sorry state of Nigeria. This morning, I want to bring to our notice the fact that our own Onyendo Mazen Nnamdi Kanu has taken his matter down to the Supreme Court. Mazen Nnamdi Kanu has taken his matter on his own. He has gone to the Supreme Court. Yes. And ladies and gentlemen, he went on his own. He presented his case on his own, and he's telling the Supreme Court that, listen, you better save me here. I have no case to answer in Nigeria. I've been acquitted more than 4 different times by 4 appellate courts, high courts, even the Supreme Court. Why are they still trying me? Justice James Kolawole Omotosho of the Federal High Court in Abuja, High Court 7, said he's going to give a judgment concerning my life, concerning my trial and mistrial on the 20th of November. Supreme Court, I want you to rise up to the occasion. Tell Justice James Kolawole Omotosho to hands off from my matter. Tell him to end this trial. I have no case to answer. I am not guilty of anything. There's no law in Nigeria that is holding me. All the laws they are using, charges they are using to put up charges to me are dead laws, repealed laws. I have no case to answer. I've been discharged and acquitted severally by different high courts, including the Supreme Court. Why is the federal government still holding me at the DSS dungeon? Why? What have I done to them? What have I said to them? What have I said that Sunday Igboho did not say? What have I said that Meta Allah have not said? What have I said that the Niger Delta militants have not said? What have I said that is new? Did I carry gun against anybody? Did I carry bomb making devices? What have I said that made them kidnap me, abduct me, and bring me into Nigeria very dishonorably, very inhumanly, and dump me at the DSS dungeon? Why are they keeping me back to back now for the past 5 years at the DSS dungeon? Why are they refusing to give me proper medical attention? I have shown them my medical records. Doctors, doctors who are very well exposed and experienced, have checked me and told me, told the government, told everybody that my liver is dying, that my pancreas is not shooting well. I have boils all over my body, even on my armpit. I can't sleep. I can't sleep. Sleep is a luxury for me. I've never been able to do up to 3 years stretch, 3 days, 3 hours stretch in the last 5 years. Why do they want me dead? Why have they turned me to the living dead? And they told Justice James Omotosho, even in the last hearing, Your Honor, Your Lordship, I will not get any lawyer to represent me. I will talk for myself. I'm tired of paying lawyers, paying attorneys, paying money, splashing millions on lawyers who will not speak what I told them to say, who will not say what I told them to say, who would not represent me well, who are afraid to look at power and tell them the truth, who don't want to tell government that what you're holding here, the man you're holding here is an innocent man. Let him go. Let him go. Let him go. Discharge and acquit him. He should not be held anymore. What you're doing is dishonorable. Dishonorable is against any living laws in any land. Is against the rule of Nigeria. Is against my fundamental human rights, both as an individual, both as a citizen of Nigeria and as a citizen of Britain. I was kidnapped from Kenya. They call it rendition. I was abducted from Kenya, and my hands were chained, my legs were shackled. And what have they done? They dumped me in total darkness. Nobody could see me several months. Nobody could see me several years. Even this one, they said they're trying me. I don't have privacy with my lawyers. There are gadgets everywhere, DSS people everywhere. And the worst part of it, they brought me into a court and they brought masked witnesses, gangster witnesses. Masked witnesses came into the court. I didn't see their face. I didn't understand their voice, but they were saying they arrested me. They were saying that the ones who arrested me. They said I made confessional statements. Masked men, masked witnesses. How can this operate in the 25th century? Excuse me. In 2025, how can this be happening? How can marksmen appear in a court as witnesses? Gangster witnesses. They lied against me, claiming all sorts of things. I've never heard their voices. I've never seen them before. Why? Why am I being subjected to all this wickedness? What have I done? Because, of course, I dared to tell people about the plight of my Igbo brothers. Because I dared to tell the powers that be, I told them, people in Biafra are suffering. People in Biafra have been marginalized. People in Biafra are subjugated. You said the war was over since 1970. Why are we still being treated like a defeated people? Why are you still treating us, like people without a purpose? NFA, people without no future ambition. Why are you making businesses difficult for us? Why are you multi-taxing my people? Why can we not assume the highest position in the land? Why is it that any time an Igbo man plants, everybody, other regions come immediately and nip it in the bud. They kill it so that it will not grow. They don't want the Igbo man to prosper. They don't want the Biafra man to prosper. Because I said enough was enough. A man who didn't love his wife, a woman who didn't love her husband, let him go. Let her go so that she can find peace and succor somewhere else. You don't force them to remain so that they die. Yes, we know that in any such situation, when you force yourself to remain, when the situation is not clement, when the environment is not clement, when things are not conducive, you die. You develop psychotic reactions. You develop psychopathic behavior. You can become totally degraded as a human being because, of course, you are living a lie. You are living in bondage. Let my people go. Let the Biafrans go if you don't want them. Why subjugate them? Why keep them in perpetual difficulty and pain? Why put them in perpetual subjugation? Why marginalize them? Let them go if you don't want them. That's what I told them. I mean, who hasn't said that? I wasn't carrying gun. I'm a peaceful protester, like the late Martin Luther King of the United States. I'm a peaceful person, like Nelson Mandela of South Africa. I spoke peace in any of my protests, like the late Mahatma Gandhi. Why is my case different? Why have I been consumed, abducted, kidnapped, and forced to remain in the DSS dungeon back to back for the past 5 years? Why did they destroy my country home? Why did they attempt to kill my parents? And they killed so many people in my country home. Why am I being victimized? Because I dared to say, please let the Biafrans live if you don't want them to live, to coexist. If you don't think they are a fundamental part of this country, then let them go. That's what I said. And now they're charging me. I will not get any lawyer anymore. No, I won't get a lawyer. And because of this, Justice James Omotosho has declared that 20th of November, he is going to make a ruling whether or not Nnamdi Kanu has an attorney or not, whether or not Nnamdi Kanu makes any final submissions. Of course, he would only listen to the submissions of the prosecuting attorney, the son, the chief, Adeboyaga Awolomo, the man who represents Nigerian government in this trial of terrorism against Onyendo Nnamdi Kanu. Once Chief Adeboyaga Amolowo makes his submissions, I make my judgment. So, ladies and gentlemen, already know what that judgment is. We know, of course, it is not going to represent the truth. We know, of course, it will not, in any way be fair. We know, of course, it is already a condemned judgment based on lies, based on hypocrisy, based on prejudice, based on pride and prejudice, based on hatred for the Biafran people. Ladies and gentlemen, Nnamdi Kanu took his matter direct to the Supreme Court, telling them he took his submitted letter to his to the Chief Justice of Nigeria, seeking an end, to his terrorism trial. It's a very sad one, but that is the reality. Let me just give you a brief account of what happened. A viral video has surfaced online showing some workers at the Supreme Court hailing the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, as he arrived at the Apex Court premises on Wednesday morning. In the short clip, several onlookers and staff could be heard chanting, Onyendu, 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 a title of respect used by Kanu's supporters as he made his way into the Supreme Court building under tight security. According to reports, Kanu personally submitted a formal letter addressed to the Chief Justice of Nigeria, CJN, Justice Kudirat Kekereoku, urging the Apex Court to discontinue his ongoing terrorism trial. Ladies and gentlemen, on Wednesday, unfortunately, on Wednesday, the 12th of November, our dear Mazi Nnamdi Kanu went to submit his own personal letter to Justice Kekere, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, yes, Justice Kudirat Kekereoku, telling her directly, Mama, where Justice, Madam Justice, Madam Chief Justice, Your Excellency, yes, please, and please, I'm bringing this letter to you to please read through it, and end this so-called trial against me. I've suffered enough. I was brought into this country following criminality. I was criminally abducted and kidnapped from Kenya, and they brought me to Nigeria. No criminality can beget justice. Criminality can never beget justice, fairness, or equity. And so I'm begging you, use your good office and stop this trial. Justice James Omotosho said he's going to do a final ruling on what they call the terrorism charge, quote and unquote, against me. But I'm telling you, use your good office and call him to order. Call him to order. End this case and let me walk away. I have a family to go to. I have children. I have business. I have work to do. I have suffered enough. My health has deteriorated. As I speak to you, my life expectancy has become abysmally low. I don't sleep. The highest sleep I can get in a day, on a very good day, is no more than 2 hours sleep. All my nerves, all my liver, all my organs are operating at the lowest end because, of course, I've been subjected to staying in a dungeon, living under inhuman conditions, back to back now for the past 5 years. I don't eat well because, of course, several attempts have been made to poison me. I have applied to be taken to the National Hospital Abuja, but they refused under very negative arrangements, including, orchestrated fake documentation by the Nigerian Medical Association. My life is in danger. Several times there have been attempts on my life. Several times poisons have been put in my drink and in my food. Chief Justice, please use your good office. End this wickedness towards me. End this aberration of justice towards me. End this inhumanity. End this flagrant disregard for the rule of law. End it and let me move on. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what Mazen Nnamdi said. And we are looking. He has posted the letter. He has handed it over directly. And like we said, the workers there were chanting, Onyendu, Onyendu, Onyendu. Because everybody knows that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is an innocent man whose only offense was that he dared. He dared to speak to power. He dared to speak truth to power. Yes. And that is what Nigerians don't want. Because when you recall how this young man, the lieutenant, the naval personnel, you had an encounter with the FCT, the emperor, the FCT, Emperor Wike. You saw how Wike tried in everything, any way he could, to destroy, to intimidate, and to bamboozle the young man, being aggressive, shouting him down, calling him a fool and all that. But the young man looked at him. Yarema, yes. Yarema looked at him and said, "Sir, I'm not a fool. Sir, I'm not stupid. Sir, I'm doing a legitimate job. Yes, and I'm not living here, sir." And of course, Wike, in his usual drunken manner, full of power, full of pride, full of himself, of course, he tried to intimidate the man. But of course, the young man looked at him and said, "Sir, with all due respect, I'm not a fool. I'm not stupid. I'm doing my legitimate job. And I am not leaving this place, and you are not entering this place." That is the same way, ladies and gentlemen, that Mazen Nnamdi Kanu dared. He was bold enough to speak to Nigerian leadership. He told them to the face, "You said the war was over. You said there was no victor, no vanquished. Why are you treating my people like this? Why are you subjecting them to all manners of wickedness, acrimony, and hatred? Why are you marginalizing us? Why are you subjugating us? Why are you treating the Biafrans as a defeated people?" That is the offense, because he was bold to speak truth to authority. Because of that, the late PMB swore, "I will deal with you decisively. I will make sure you don't see daylight anymore." Unfortunately, PMB is gone, is late, but of course, Mazen Nnamdi Kanu, strong and alive. And we are looking forward to what the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Chief Justice Kudirat Kekereekun, we're going to see what she's going to do. We're going to see what will happen. We want to see what Justice James Kolawole Omotosho will do on the 20th. 20th is already around the corner. Yes, it's just less than 6 days from now. Let's see how it goes. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it. It's a pleasure coming your way. God bless you. Continue to pray for the redeclared United States of Biafra. Continue to pray for able Dr. Ngozi Arabueze, the Deputy Prime Minister. Continue to pray for my Simon Ekpa's appeal. We know we'll get there. And above all, pray without ceasing that Onyendu Mazen Nnamdi Kanu will scale through and be discharged and acquitted. Because of course, we know the 45th and 47th President of the United States, Mr. Donald Trump, has his eyes on Justice James Kolawole Omotosho, the Nigerian judiciary, and of course, Emilio Kon and the Nigerian government. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. God bless you until I come your way again. Bye-bye for now.